Hey there everybody, how's it going? Nightshade here, and I can't remember half of my keyboard commands here, so we're just going to probably leave a lot of the stuff up on the screen. Oh, I got names. Alright, that's a start. Now, let me see if I remember my overlay keys. There used to be one for getting rid of the lineup. I can't remember right off the top of my head, so I'll have to leave it up for now. Oh, alright, cool, there we go. Either way. This has been a while. I do apologize. Of course, my name is Nightshade from IVD Gaming. Down in the bottom right-hand corner here on King Sejong Station, ladies and gentlemen, from IVD, of course, it is intense. And it will be, because up at the top left-hand corner is his opponent. Yes, it looks like a barcode. It is none other than the good old Puck. Team captain of IVD Gaming, of course, doing quite well this year in pretty much every tournament that he's been going into. Certainly, obviously, producing the results and consistently doing so. So, we are going to be watching this. I'm just going to change the sound settings here, just increase the volume quite a bit so we can actually have a listen and actually hear stuff that's going on. Hey, fantastic. Hopefully it's not too loud, and hopefully you can still hear me over top of the action, of course, right now. Puck is just going to continue probing on along Gateway going down behind the lines. This is commonplace, actually, if you're wondering. The reason being is you can actually wall off this, and it actually inhibits the ability of Reapers to be able to run around behind the mineral line. So it's a good choice, especially in PVT plays. Now, down at the bottom right-hand corner, we are going to follow along and watch Intense and see what he is up to. Barracks are going down, of course, taking gas very quickly after the fact. Okay, so gas did not go first and then take his barracks. The barracks did indeed go down first and the gas afterwards. So we can expect a Reaper, and in fact, considering the fact that his rally point is set across the map right on over here, and in fact, just resetting that, we will see a Reaper shortly. I'm almost sure of it. There she is. So Reaper will pop on out. It will do scouting and a little bit of harassment, mostly scouting. The idea here is basically to get a feel as to exactly what Puck is up to. He wants to get on into the base and do this, do some damage. Not so much damage per se as in, let's kill all the units. He's not going to be able to do that very easily, especially against Puck. However, what he is looking for is to find out what kind of tech path. How many pylons is he going to find? So far there's 2. In a couple moments there will be 3 down. Just going to change the speed of the mouse. The scroll speed down to about that. Yep, that'll work. And this just makes it a little bit smoother down the road. And Puck is going to expand. A little greedy, but normal. This can be dangerous, especially against Terrans. Terrans have been adopting new builds as of late with regards to going with like a 3-gate fast medevac, or going even like 5 racks, which is a build that I've actually kind of generated, along with the help of Ruff and a couple of other pros. So, but 1-gate expand is safe, and the reason why is because he does have a mothership coming on out. The mothership core will provide the level of, I guess you could say, for a lack of better term, security. Of course, photon overcharge is the method with which Puck will provide that security to himself. If you're wondering what photon overcharge is, it is basically where the mothership core turns this nexus into a 2,000 hit point photon cannon. And so it's pretty hard to take down. You have to have some sufficient numbers, and early in the game it's not going to happen. Of course, putting it on patrol at the front is going to stop any Reapers from getting on in here. Now, let's just take a quick look at the vision that is going on the screen, and you can see that Intense has absolutely none of it. He knows that there is an expansion, so it was a gate expand build. He can deduce that simply by the fact that there is a nexus and the timing of the nexus. And if you're wondering what that is, I mean, if you take a look at it, it's just finishing up now at 5 minutes and 30 seconds or so. So if you are just checking and doing your scouting and you see that this is kind of finishing up around 5:15, 5:30, it was a gate expand. You shouldn't really worry too much about anything too nutty. But you should be prepared because they can switch on over to airplay later on. Now, there is that Reaper heading on over, taking the long way around. It's going to be very slow. Yeah, despite the fact that they are one of the faster units on the game, well, respectfully, it is not going to get its way on around here. A Stalker is going to intercept. No, okay. This is called the move command, and this Reaper is going to get on up here. What does he see, though? That's the real trick. Nothing on up here to really help him out. It's going to see the robo facility. That is absolutely fantastic here for Intense, and of course, he's going to get a couple pot shots off, maybe catch himself a probe in the process. Got to be careful with that Reaper, though. Did he see the cybernetic score in the pylon? Yes, he did. And he is going to get on out here and maybe do a little bit more harass. He is going to lose the Reaper, but he did get all the scouting information in the world. So he must be pleased. Of course, Stalker here did give a quick poke, but didn't really get up and see what's going on. But I'm sure that he's kind of got aware of the units that are up front, and maybe not the best thing he could do. And of course, we of course have that. I don't know, I'm saying the word of course a lot lately. But however, nerp. Intense has expanded. We do know this, and of course he is going with a lot of mineral heavy units. He's not really cranking out any gas yet, as he's going to bank up a little bit of that. No, I stand corrected. He's been using it all in structures so far, putting down reactors, getting tech labs and the like. And it looks like he is going to go with a bioplay, throw in additional barracks, and I wouldn't be surprised if he switches the starport over on top of reactor or something fairly soon. I'm actually a little bit surprised he hasn't cranked out one just yet, so he can double pump the medevacs. Taking a second gas right now, that's a little bit on the late side of things, but obviously needing the minerals very, very early on in order to keep his production levels high, which is a good choice that he's got these units. You know, you can use these Hellions to do a little bit of harass here. He's got that drop going off with a lot of Marines up on the high ground here. I'm not sure how effective this is going to be. He's going to pick him up, try to get him up onto the high ground here using that medevac. It's going to be very hard to do. And as we do see photon overcharge, as previously mentioned, 2,000 point photon cannon is going to mop up and keep the base safe. You can see the Marines will eventually die. Medevac is the key thing here. Why? Because it has 400 minerals worth of Hellions inside. On top of that, the medevac itself is 100. So certainly not wanting to lose that. Good choice by Intense. Didn't work out exactly what he hoped. I think he was a little bit late on this, and I think his positioning was a little bit off as well. If he came over on this side, he might have actually been able to take out the Cybernetics Corps, but also be able to work within this bracketing right here, and might have given him better options also to escape. It's also very hard, I should note, for Puck to be able to follow along with these Stalkers, seeing as he does not have Blink just quite yet. So Medevac's still up here in the top right-hand corner. And production is going to continue on. Of course, gases have now been saturated down in Intense's base. And as we do also follow along, additional barracks going on down. So increased production on a 2-base. Intense is going to be able to do very, very well on this indeed. And we can actually see the army supply is still fairly close, 47 to 52 in Puck's favor. Worker supply is fairly close. Army supply is slightly favoring Intense. Of course, Intense does have the favor of mules. The power of mules compels you. It shall, and it shall indeed. SCV is going to head on down, take a third base in just a couple of moments here from Intense. There was a nice little poke here. It died. There wasn't much. It was a scouting poke. It really didn't happen. It just got blocked off and away it went. I think it was a Hellion that actually got in there. I'll try to keep an eye on that kind of stuff in the future. Sorry, boys and girls. And let's just squeak this bracket on over here. Of course, just a couple big shoutouts and lots of love to IVD Gaming, my team, my friends, my family, and video game land. So I love those guys a lot. And these guys are actually teammates of mine as well, Intense and Puck. And I've, in fact, actually took a great deal of photographs and had a great time with them down at MLG Anaheim 2014. And hope to do so again in the near future, in the next tournaments or something along those lines. Hopefully there's another something, a little get-together, a little reunion, hopefully coming up in the near future. That would be a lot of fun to go to, depending on work and personal life able to accommodated. This is going to be a little bit scary for Intense. Surprisingly small death ball here from Puck, but he knows what he's got, and he has a good number of force fields. He has some Immortals in the mix there, but also, more importantly, the Colossus and some Stalkers. So this is actually going to be a little bit dangerous. However, that being said, there is an awful lot of Marauders here, and they can drop this very, very quickly. The trick is do the Immortals really rain down a lot of pain? Sorry, Stanton corrected 3 Immortals. This is going to be very, very hard to deal with here for Intense. I think he's going to go for the trade all in all. He doesn't have a lot defending, but he's got a little bit. It's, I don't think, going to be enough, and yeah, he's going to pick up as much as he can, blocking, getting away from those force fields. Decided, yeah, enough is enough. He's got to make a chance to go. There's nothing defending here. Might be able to catch himself a Colossus. There's a warping here. Photon overcharge is going to go down as well on the other side of the map, though Intense is in a lot of trouble here. He's pulled SCVs to trying to do some work as well, trying to keep things going, but it's not going to happen. He's withdrawing those as well. Going to use the medevacs very intelligently to back them on up, meanwhile keeping his units out of range of that photon overcharge. He's got to wait 1 minute for that to actually occur. He's going to drop off those SCVs, but not enough. Going to see if he can maybe get the Widow Mines down. They do a lot of splash damage and have a bonus against Protoss shields. They do a lot more effective work that way. 1 force field here on the bottom ramp is going to take care of a lot there. Colossus is going to fall, but unfortunately is not enough as the 3 Immortals and the Stalkers are still remaining. Intense is going to back on up here. I think he's realized he's not going to be able to really touch the top of this base. You can see that initial photon overcharge is still on a cooldown. Finally has ended, and if he's lucky, maybe he'll be able to run in here and do a little bit of a smash and grab and catch himself some units. Unfortunately, though, this command center is not a planetary fortress, and that is going to be a little bit of a pain. Puck is now warping in a pile of units behind the Zealots, of course. Cheap, 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 and I think this might actually work out for Intense. He has enough medevacs here to really keep these guys alive, but the Immortals are raining down the pain. But they are going to fall ultimately as well, and that is going to get knocked into the ballpark. And that's actually pretty good for Intense. That is actually a big, big victory. It's going to put him ahead a little bit in the supply lead, 64 to 50. Unfortunately, though, at the same time, and I should point this out, is his worker supply count is very, very low. He lost a lot of workers. However, that being said, he does have his third base up and running. He is going to call down a pile of mules. And if we do take a look at the income side of things, once those mules start returning, you're going to see it's going to jump very, very quickly here. And you can see now, in fact, he's taking the advantage. He is going to move on out with his units, and Puck giving him a good bit of work, but Intense definitely taking it back to Puck. Now, is he going to be able to win the game? I don't know. This is just anybody's guess. This is a pretty admirable death ball here, and of course he does have vision as by way of this observer. There is going to be a pickup, and I know that Puck is ready for it. I'm sure he is anticipating it indeed. He does have a couple of units. He's got the mothership core rather floating around on the high ground, ready to drop down the photon overcharge on whichever base requires it. In fact, can do two, plus a recall, plus a temporal vortex, I believe it's called. Photon overcharge, time warp, my bad. Same thing as a temporal vortex. Excuse me, please forgive me. When you talk this much, you need water. Speaking of which, I should take a sip. Very refreshing. Widowmines are going to burrow very, very quickly. I think he might be wise to pick up and get the heck out of dodge here. And a couple Widowmine shots are going to go off. Maybe catch a couple of other free ones. That's going to soften up the Stalkers quite a bit, but unfortunately the damage is done. And Intense is not going to be able to really continue that attack. He really needed those Widowmines to get a little further in up here, and that would have been a much more favorable engagement. Unfortunately, Widowmines are going to die as a result of the fact that detection has arrived. You can see Intense is really trying to take it to Puck, really trying to limit his expansions and such like that, but now with 3 Colossus and a lot of force fields available, it's just maybe not a good thing to do, and you can see Intense is wisely backing right of the heck on up. He is on 3 bases, and he is catching up with the worker count, 57 to 52. Of course, mules are keeping things together. Of course, he has a Widowmine and a bunch of units here to help deal with any run-bys, which, of course, are going to be supplied by this pylon off on the left-hand side of the map. Intense is going to try to, again, clean up a little bit of the corners, I guess you could say. Puck has a really nasty habit of getting on out there with a lot of pylons onto the map, and I'm sure if we keep an eye peeled, they'll actually have another probe heading on out there to do precisely that. I'm actually a little bit surprised he hasn't gotten more pylons out onto the map. Maybe Intense has been doing a pretty good job keeping up on top of this. Is going to kill off one of the Colossus. Unfortunately, he's going to lose a lot of units in the trade. Maybe able to catch up behind and maybe catch these 2 Colossus. The Vikings are going to drop the 1. Stalkers are working away. Storms are going to go down, bracketing out these bio units on the low ground here, but that is not going to be enough. The Colossus does ultimately fall, and you can see landing now, the Vikings getting them into ground use, and this is an absolutely fabulous unit for this purpose because of the fact that they're not a one-shot unit. You use them in the air and then get them down to the ground where you can do some more work. However, you can see that Puck is trying to do a lot of work here on Intense, trying to make him pay for what he's done, and of course going for these gas-intensive units such as the medevacs and killing them off as quickly as you can. And this is going to actually attack Intense quite a bit. He has the Marauder count here to try to keep these Zealots back, but of course he's going to have to micromanage these guys with Stutter Step all the way on back. He is going to take care of them. But as you can see, that takes a good 30 seconds to mop on up. And that is going to buy Puck a little bit of time here. He does have himself some Stalkers, warped in a pile of Zealots as well, another Colossus in the way. Of course, these gas-heavy units, such as the Colossus, are really putting him back by quite a bit. And you can see he only has 1 High Templar over here. He does have a couple of observers well positioned throughout the map. Try and keep an eye peeled on things. There is that warp in run by that I was talking about, and he's just going to send those all the way down. And you can see Intense very, very quickly expanding on out to its 4th base here. Marine is going to catch a couple of the Zealots here. Widowmines are on the lower ground here. They're going to get a couple shots off, get a couple of kills. Unfortunately, the Marine is going to die himself. This is going to force a little bit of action here by Intense. He's going to have to do something, but first there is going to be a fly-in and a mad drop here to try to get some work done. Widowmines have burrowed. He's going to pick up the remaining units and fly on out of here. There's just far too many Stalkers here trying to rain down the pain, and good feedbacks as well. A good number of the units did back on out here. Meanwhile, the attack is still going on down to the bottom of the map. This game has been absolutely freaking insane. It just doesn't stop. And the Zealots still getting a lot of kills and moving on out. Now, Intense is going to take care of that back on up, and as you can see, he still wants to continue to really keep Puck only on 3 bases, does not want to let his Protoss opponent get out and onto 4th base. Of course, these observers have been worth their weight in gold, catching absolutely everything, and I'm pretty sure that Intense has absolutely no idea that they're there, and there is going to be a push. Stim is going to occur, and Intense is going to have to back on up. This is smart. He wants to stay away from those Colossus, the real damage dealers here, and of course he doesn't have any Vikings here to really help with those. He does have his Widow Mines in the mix, but he doesn't really have the time to burrow them. He's just trying to run like crazy here, back on up and get out of there. Of course, burrowing the Widow Mine now after the fact. Of course, there is this 4th base. It is down. The pylon has been mopped on up, and units are scouting around trying to find any residual pylons that Puck may have out on the map. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any others. I'm actually just noticing anywhere else. And so if there's any warpins to occur, he's going to have to, well, that's not a bad option, is get a Nexus up front and take care of that. Probe is going to sit there, stand by. Nexus is going to go down. Of course, he may cancel that in the very near future if there's going to be a biomass heading on out. I do like the fact that Intense has changed his playstyle by quite a bit, and he has had, he's got a, well, this is my cat meowing his face off, and I don't even know where the heck he is. Whatever. He's just asking me to feed him. He always is hungry. He never stops. He's so grossly overweight that he can't actually jump onto a bed, believe it or not. He actually has to find a step and then go up that way. But he is being taken care of. In fact, my brother just headed upstairs and he's feeding him right now. You can see Puck taking care of 1 medevac. 3B medevacs are always good for Protoss players. You can see Intense's death ball is actually getting pretty good, and you can see actually his army supply is substantially larger, 138 to 104. However, I need to point out a couple of really kind of key details here that are very, very important in the Protoss death ball army. It is going to be +1, +2, so +1 attack, +2 armor, but more importantly is the fact there is some good area effect damage here. Storms are certainly available, and 3 High Templar are going to be able to provide that function. Now there's 4 Colossus. That is an awful lot of splash damage here. And you can see that there is an Observer here to provide some vision here. He's going to use the Colossus, take care of a lot of Widow Mines here. And that should take care of all of those. There's still a couple more. But you can see his scan is going to go down, hoping that the Widow Mines might be able to catch that Observer. Is not going to happen. But he's going to keep vision and keep tabs on that Protoss army. And you can see actually there's a lot of units here, but not a whole lot of Vikings. He needs about double that to really be able to take on this many Colossus as quickly as he can. Storms are going to go down fairly soon. Just give it a second here. But not the best engagement here for Intense. He just quick poke, see what he's got to deal with, and then he's going to back right the heck on up. Unfortunately, it does look like he may lose this base, this planetary fortress. It depends on whether or not Puck is going to move on down. Does he even know it's there? No, he does not. Intense, on the other hand, is trying to get a bit of a bracket here. If he can get around and split this up, this force up, that would be absolutely fantastic, but I don't think he's going to be able to do that. Maybe if he can go for the base trade, this will actually work out, and I think that is what he is going to do. Now, Storm is going to go down, another one as well. It is going to do a world of damage, but not enough, and a lot of these units are going to survive that. This Nexus is going to fall. There's no way it's going, well, there's no way it's not going to happen that way. Protoss, the Protoss Death Ball by Puck is heading its way back. Puck is going to be in a world of trouble if he doesn't address this very, very soon. He does have a lot of Widow Mines scattered throughout the map, trying to get a lot of shots off, softening units up, and you can see additional shots are going to go down by those Widow Mines here. Widow Mines on the low ground as well. Vikings are going to head on over, start working away on the Colossus. One is going to fall. The second one is going to fall very soon as well. And the Stalkers are working away on them, but not enough. You can see a lot of these Bioforces are trying to run for their lives, very, very much injured. Medevacs are going to rescue them. And the Vikings are going to fall as well before, well, 2 of these are left. One of them horribly, horribly damaged. I'm going to start regenerating its shield fairly soon. So Puck actually the victor in that engagement by far. And despite all of that, I will say that Intense is doing quite well. He's on 3 bases. He lost his 4th in that engagement. So did Puck. Puck has been, as you can see, is using a lot of mineral-heavy units here because his gas is getting tied up so quickly in a lot of these gas-intensive units like the Archons, like the High Templar, like the Colossus. You see additional Widow Mines softening up these Zealots in the front ranks. Bioforces on the top of the ramp are working away. Vikings are also going to work away, taking care of the Colossus. Archons on the low ground here, supported by these Zealots, are going to mop up this Bioforce unbelievably quickly. Widow Mines and, well, basically running for their lives here, trying to get into the ground, and they are going to get their shots off, but not before the Zealots are going to get on up into the high ground here, into the production lines. This is not where you want to be. And GG is called, and Intense Unfortunately, not able to take the victory here. You can see a little. Just take a quick look and show you why. This is going to be really, really hard for him to break out of. He needs to get kind of his groupings, to get his forces to group together, and these zealots are going to inhibit that ability. And he does have some forces over here, but there's Dark Templar here to mop them up, and unfortunately, it's just not enough. And of course, a wise decision on his part. He could have delayed this game quite a bit, but it's going to be very, very hard for him to win. Puck will be the victor. Absolutely fabulous job. And to be perfectly frank, I wouldn't have called it. I was very concerned when I was seeing that that Intense was actually able to inhibit Puck's ability to be able to take a fourth base and meanwhile take a fourth of his own. I figured that if Intense was able to get his economy up and running on this base here very well, and he would go into the late game with a really good advantage in his economy, but unfortunately not so well for him. Good engagement here by Puck. Great unit control and trying to take care of all of I guess you could say all the damage and managing all the side damage that Intense has been able to do, because Intense really only liked to engage in this particular game when when Puck was not near his base. So anyway, that will do it from me. Hope you guys enjoyed this game of Puck versus Intense, and we'll be back in just a second. Don't go anywhere.